You were so excited, aren't you? He's so excited. Did you take a shot? Are we saying it?
We can always cut the first part. We can always say Merry Christmas, whatever.
We're never gonna get through this. So what am I supposed to say? Okay, I gotta stop laughing first.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mom and Son Unplugged. I'm Damonte, the son half of the show.
And I am Melissa, the other half of the show. All right, so we are on our 5th episode, and today we have a special guest. Damonte, do you want to tell them who our guest is?
Our special guest is my father.
All right, so what we are going to do is we're going to have Damon, Damonte's dad. We are going to have him introduce himself, tell us where he's from, where he's living now. Yeah, just tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing in life today.
Awesome. Well, thank you first for having me on the show. I've been watching the last couple of podcasts, and when I heard some stories with me involved, I was like, oh, I hope I get to tell my part of this story, at least how I remember, which I think we'll get into in a little bit later and some of that. But for me, Damon Johnson, a lot of my friends call me DJ, born and raised in Bumpus, Virginia. So if you never heard of it, look it up. That was on my license. Ironically enough, I'm recording this from Bumpus, Virginia, back home after 27 years in the Air Force, where I was an aircraft maintenance mechanic. And I'm currently working for a small company doing talent acquisition and retention for companies that are part of the Department of Defense. So going into manufacturing companies, teaching them how to recruit, hire, onboard talent to hopefully turn into a lifetime employee. It's kind of what's going on. I retired January of 2024. So, approaching, which seems like it'll be soon. It'll be 2 years retired, which has been flying by. So definitely have been enjoying that. That's about it for me.
All right. Well, thank you for the quick introduction. So tell the viewers, why did you decide to join the Air Force?
I'll share the story that I shared at my retirement ceremony. I guess is probably the most memorable driving factor. There's a couple of things that tie into it. My mom's cousin retired out of the Air Force in the 80s. He was also in aircraft maintenance. He was a retired Chief Master Sergeant. And after retirement, he went to Saudi to teach the Saudis how to work on their Did that for a number of years and decided to move back to Bumpus and live right down the street. And so I kind of always had that external pressure about joining the military. And then I think the straw that broke the camel's back was I was heartbroken by a girl I was dating and just wanted to get away from the area. So I was like, I'll show her she made a mistake, right? And so I joined the Air Force, making way less money than I had been making. So I don't know how that point in the beginning, but I think in the long run, I made the best decision. So, and I'm no longer petty about trying to, show what I did with my life. So I guess I'm matured in some ways in that point.
Yeah. See, sometimes life decisions always stem from like a heartbreak or, I don't know, trying to make some major life change to try to show them I can do better.
They say love make you do some crazy things. Apparently heartbreak does too.
I don't even think I ever heard that story. I already learned something new today.
Oh, goodness. We're only 3 minutes into the segment.
Man, was that the girl that was in your dorm room after the Saudi deployment?
No, this was... I don't think me and her talked we may have talked a little bit after I first went to basic. I think when I came home that Christmas, I saw her. Then we went years with no contact. And when I met her, she had probably a 3 or 4 month old daughter. So I'm fresh out of high school, dating some kid already. So it was a lot to be taken on as a young person. And I was like, I'm ready for this. And I probably wasn't ready for it at 18, 19 years old.
Oh my God, I never knew this. That's so crazy.
Yeah, so if she ever sees this episode, I'm sure I'll hear about it.
That is funny. Man, secretly.
Yeah. I won't do any name dropping, but we'll leave it at that.
We'll put it in, we'll put some words up. We'll put it in the print.
It goes blank when I start saying the name. So, yeah, that was it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for being our very first guest on our podcast. As Damon had mentioned before, he heard his name throughout snippets of previous episodes. So I feel it was right for him to come on and tell his sides of the story, and so that way you guys can all see who the person is that we've been talking about. And hopefully, y'all gain some, I don't know, I guess kind of like how we did things as parents. And Damonte can be the judge of that in this episode for one of the topics we're going to cover. So he'll be able to tell you guys if we were successful or not. I mean, I think we were successful. Damonte's great, but Damonte will be the true tale of that.
I know I can't wait for that to come out and see. Especially there's one category I won't reveal it now that I'm very interested in who gets the higher grade. So
Oh, man.
no pressure to Monte.
All right. So, as we segue into getting to know Damonte's parents before he was born, we are going to get into a little bit of how I remember it versus how it actually happened. So this might, be some learning for Damonte, learning about how his parents were before he was born, and for our viewers to get to know us a little bit more, because probably I wouldn't reveal these secrets otherwise.
I love
So,
learning new things.
what's that?
I said this is my favorite part of learning.
The most embarrassing things. All right, so I'm going to start off like having y'all learn a little bit about Damon. So I have a few things that I want to say how I feel, how I remember it, but Damon's going to tell y'all like how it really happened. So since I'm originally from Maine, Damon and I first started dating, and I wanted to take him to Maine to show him what Maine is like, visit the family. So Damon's first trip to Maine, he either almost got himself shot or ended up in jail. Is
Yeah,
that how you think it went?
all of the above for sure.
Would you care to elaborate on how those events almost happened?
Well, sure. So first time to Maine, we're young airmen, been dating for maybe a few months, I think, by the time I made the first trip up. It's summertime, never been to Maine. I don't think I'd been past like Pennsylvania at that point in my life anyway. So Melissa's like, let's take a trip to Maine. We decide to drive, which
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, right? So when taking the drive, this is late 90s, maybe like 97, 98 time frame. And so we're in the car. I think we leave in the morning, if I remember right. We're driving up. All I know is I got to a certain point in the road on the highway. I want to say like New Hampshire, and there were like no black people in any cars. Let's just set the stage for this first of all, right? So as I'm looking in cars and just people looking at me and I'm looking at them, I'm starting to think like, what? Where are we going, right? So fast forward, you know, no incidents. It was a incident-free travel day, right? So we get to Maine. At the time, her mom's boyfriend had an ATV. I'm from the country. I love riding ATVs. So I think this is like now day two. He's like, we welcome to take the ATV out. I'm like, sure. Nothing else going on right now. I take the ATV out. I'm on like this trail that he showed me. And I'd been through there a couple times, no issue. And on like, my second or third time down this trail, there's like an old man just standing in the middle of the trail out of nowhere. I don't see any houses, and it's just this guy. I can't hear him, but I can tell he's pretty upset about something. So if I had really done a good situational awareness of my environment, I probably should have just turned around the other way. It was no way this guy was going to run me down. But I decided to be a good person and just kind of go and see what's going on. Maybe he's having an emergency. Well, apparently, I was the problem. From what I remember, someone had been zipping across his backyard several times on an ATV or dirt bike. I don't remember exactly what he said. And we start talking. He's like giving me the business, like literally giving me the business. And I try to tell him Melissa's grandparents' name for what at least I know of. I've been there 2 days. He doesn't know them. I'm thinking they're neighbors. I don't know where I am at this point. And an officer pulls up in a police car. This is pre cell phone, so I'm thinking like this is it. This is the last time anybody hears from me. Buxton, Maine is going to be the end of my life right now, right? But luckily enough, we were able to get to a point where I was able to tell him I was visiting, I was in the military, and immediately his demeanor started to change towards me. And the officer was a young, kid, maybe probably my age or in my, close to it. And he was just like, look, just don't ride this way anymore. And I was like, and I got off and I get back home and I'm just like, you're never going to believe what happened. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, you're running through your mind, like, how do you get out of this situation? How do you call? Is the cop going to give me a ride to the house? Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I survived my first trip to Maine, needless to say. And I don't know if I rode that four-wheeler ever again after that, though. But
I don't think you did either.
I'm like, let's just park this thing and call it good. So, but
All right, so he survived clearly.
yes,
I think he learned his lesson.
yeah, exactly. And know the address of where you're staying.
Yes. Yep. Thank God for cell phones now.
Oh goodness, I probably wouldn't have had service, my luck. So it's just this time I'm running for it. Screw it.
All right, so we have another trip to Maine. I don't know, all these stories seem to happen in Maine. Part 2 of Get Out.
Right.
So we had learned that Damon gets really scared by flying objects coming towards him, and he almost killed my aunt's bird.
Damonte, don't remember. You remember the story?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Damonte's learning something new.
Yeah,
we were laughing so hard. That would have been quite a pivotal moment in all of our lives.
very much so. Because your aunt was such a sweet person and very like it would have crushed her if I had actually made contact with this bird. For just some context to the story, we're back in Maine. We go visit one of her aunts. I don't know if your cousin Mike was in town or at the same time or not. I feel like he was one time we went, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So we go over and I'm like standing in the hallway and I may or may not have known if she had birds or not at this point. And even if I did, I probably didn't expect what was happening, what's about to happen next was going to happen. So I'm kind of standing there and all of a sudden I see something come flying at my face and the bird had got out of the bedroom and like flew up to the living room. And I was literally seconds away from like just going with this swat with my hand. And I'm so glad I didn't. And I just kind of ducked. And when I realized, like, oh my God, I could have killed this bird. And I could have only imagined the emotional being that her aunt was, how that would have been.
Like,
So
she loved that bird.
it would have been
His
like
name was Jeff.
killing a family.
Yeah, she loved that bird. Yeah, she would have been devastated.
Yeah, it would have been. I would have been black sheep of the family, literally, right? So my reflexes were slower and nothing, accordingly. Yeah, it happened fast.
Man, let me see. All right, last but not least, we all have a drinking story.
Mm.
Every single one of us have a drinking story that we remember, but I always remember one from Damon, and it was our deployment to Turkey, which I'm sure Damon has another story from Turkey that he will probably tell. But we were in Turkey and I was in a tent with females. They separate the tent and we all had separate rooms. The rooms were closed. I don't know. How did they close? By like plywood or something? Like not much. It's very thin.
Yeah, like either a zipper, like plastic curtain in between or something, or like a door, depending on how they were built out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was at the back of the tent. Damon had gone out with his friends one night, and I don't know what possessed him to come back to my room, but he came back to my room. And as soon as he laid down, like I could smell the Hennessy. It smelled like I can't even smell it to this day without my stomach rolling around because it was such a horrific smell. And he got sick. And not only did he got sick like all over my bed in the middle of the night. Oh my God, I was so mad. So I was like, what are we gonna do? So we had to, well, not him, not we. It wasn't a we situation, it was a me situation. I had to take all of my sheets, my blankets, pillows, and they got tossed in the dumpster. It was not a fun night. Like not a fun night, but yeah, to this day, I cannot take the smell of Hennessy at all. That was not a fun moment in life.
Well, You'll be happy to know I no longer drink Hennessy. Apparently, I couldn't do it no more either. So, uh,
What's the substitute?
I'm more of a bourbon person now,
Okay. All right.
and definitely not as much volume as I did back in the day. But
We recovered quickly back then.
yes, yes, we
Is
did.
that how you remember the story?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I remember not much of that story. And then I was laughing when you started talking about it because I was like, "Oh yeah, that did happen, right?" I don't remember. And I wasn't much help.
No, he was no help at all. I was so mad. Oh, I was so mad because he couldn't even help like roll up the sheets in the.
I was literally comfortable with just finding a spot that didn't have throw up and going back to sleep. Like I was totally okay with it. But no, we got to clean up the bed. Like,
It smelled horrific.
oh
Like
yeah,
I'm sure it permeated through the tent.
yeah. The tent mates were not happy.
But they weren't happy every time Damon came to the tent because he snored so loud. Talking about it the next day. They were like, was there a bear in the tent last? But we were all friends, so they didn't care. Just nobody got any sleep.
That's a testament of friendship right there. Goodness.
All right. Damon, you're up.
So I'm gonna start off with the drinking story, and Lisa probably remembers this one.
Yeah.
It may or may not have been on a boat. Do you remember this one?
I do remember this one. Yes.
Damonte may have heard this story or not. I don't know if he has. So it was, we're on our honeymoon. We decided to go to the Bahamas. It was my first cruise. I don't, was it Melissa? It was both of our first cruises. We go out one night and we meet another young couple and we're just having some drinks, having a good time with them. And all of a sudden, Melissa is like wasted. Like never seen this before ever. Like just completely, like can't even walk.
No.
Like to the point where we had to get a wheelchair to get her to the room. Like one of the people that worked on the ship got a wheelchair. And I'm like wheeling her to the room, and it's like her back is broken, and she's like just slumped over. And I'm like, this is not a good look for me taking this person back to my room, right? Like it's almost like you got to explain, like it's my wife. Like I just, I'm not Bill Cosby out here on the cruise. So we get to the room, and she can't do anything for herself. She can't get herself undressed. She can't nothing. And so to this day, I don't even know what it was. I don't think it. I think she was drugged. That's the only way to explain it because I'd never seen her like this before.
I remember I was drinking wine I really didn't even drink like that.
Right, you weren't a big drinker, right? So maybe it was like the motion of the boat and stuff.
Blame it on that.
Was like, oh my goodness, and it was just like, So that was the one drinking story.
And I think that's actually how it happened. And I do remember, I think there's some details missing out of that.
Yeah, we will leave that out. I know this is unpleasant. I'll leave that out.
Oh my God. I remember. And then don't drink like that. Like that was horrible. I wasted a whole day. Like there was so much stuff we wanted to do the next day. And
Yeah.
I was bedridden all day long. We were Damon was my runner to go get toast and ginger ale, and it was so bad. And I was so mad because there were so many different games that we wanted to go to that next day, and I couldn't even move off the bed. And on a cruise ship, like the hangovers are 10 times worse.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah. What was another story? Do you remember when my tire blew out on my car and it flew up and hit your car?
Oh my God. I was so mad. Oh, I was so mad.
Oh.
So mad at him because this is the story. This is what happened.
Oh yeah.
This is what really happened. So my sister was a young teenager at this point in time. I think she was like maybe 12, 13, something like that. And she was flying for the very first time. She was flying to visit me in Virginia, but I think my mom didn't want her transferring planes. So they got her a ticket into Baltimore.
Yeah.
And so Damon was we were going to go get my sister together, but he had this going away luncheon that the unit was giving him, and he had to go to this going away luncheon. Mind you, he was only moving sections. He wasn't moving out of the unit. He was only going from one section to another. And I told him, we don't have time for you to go to this luncheon because we have to drive all the way to Baltimore to get my sister. He promised me there would be time. There was no time. So we're driving down the highway, and then he was going to park his car in Louisa County. He was going to park his car, leave it there, and then drive my car the rest of the way. No, we're on the way, and I start seeing chunks of black tire hit my windshield. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? This is back with no cell phones. So I couldn't get in touch with my mom, couldn't get in touch with my sister, that we were running late. Yeah, so he ends up busting a tire. And needless to say, we were hours late picking up my sister. Like, my sister was pissed. Like, she was pacing back and forth. There was no way to get a hold of us. Yeah. That was not a fun moment in time.
Yeah, I have no more to say on that story.
Everything checks out.
I think that's.
All for
I forgot we were going to Baltimore. I just know the whole tread just flew off at some point and flew up in the air. I was like, I looked back, I was like, oh, shit, that just hit her windshield. Like, this is not going good for me at all at this point. So sometimes you just quiet, I guess. Let's see. I was talking to my dad last night, and we were sitting out back, and this guy rode by a motorcycle. It was dark, and so shortly after I come back from a deployment, Damonte was maybe like 2 years old.
Yeah, Damonte was young.
And so it was my turn to pick him up from daycare. Well, so I was off because I was on my R&R, and I went and bought a motorcycle. And then I went to pick Damonte up, and I would get home, and Melissa's like, "What is that on the back of your truck?" I was like, "Yeah, I just bought a motorcycle, and I kind of need you to help me get it unloaded." So once again, like not reading the room and knowing what I should be doing, I bought this motorcycle. Well, one night we decided to go to Kings Dominion from up here in Bumpus, and on the way there we almost get into an accident and like rear end a car. So I didn't know how I was going to get your mom to get back on this motorcycle to make the 40 ride home. And now it's nighttime. We almost hit a cat on the way back, and I don't know if she ever rode the motorcycle after that.
No, and I still hate them to this day. That was not a good idea.
I was not the best as a young rider if someone did not like riding bikes, for me to convince them to ride a bike, because I was not the safest rider. So
I should have
got
known
better at that too as well. So I have grown a little bit.
I should have known better. On my way home, he goes
I'm like,
cell phones.
all my parents, because she was shaking when she got out the motorcycle. I was like, oh, God, this is good.
I was so scared. All right. So that's a little bit about us in our younger years. So now Damonte has an opportunity, now that you've known some bad decisions that we've made or put ourselves into some interesting circumstances. We're going to have Damonte give us a report card on our parenting.
All right. So category number one is who was the best cook? And I would say that my father was a better cook. But I think when it comes to desserts, my mom takes the cake.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
Yeah, I can't.
But yeah, my dad never really does sweets too often. It's more like the main meal.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't do size either. So it's
Nope.
just you get.
I think that's where I get it from.
Like, since I've been back here, they're like, "What's the size?" I'm like, "You don't need size." Like, yes, you do. Like, no, you don't. Like, I can eat chicken wings every day though, so I feel like you don't need size with chicken.
That must be where I get it from. Every time people are over and I'm cooking, I'm like, "What do you mean we're having steak? Like, it's just steak."
Like, what do you eat? That's where you get it from.
You don't need like a baked potato, beans, mac and cheese, nothing?
No.
Every now and then, but most nights I'm just like, I'll just make this. And it's crazy because I have a crazy sweet tooth, but I just don't do desserts. Like, I don't have time for all that, and some of those instructions I don't even know what they mean. So I just go to buy a piece of cake out of the bakery. It's so much easier.
That's funny.
All right. Who gave the best advice? I think I would say my dad gave the best financial advice, and I think you guys equally give me career advice, but I feel like my dad has taught me the most financially. And then who gave the best bedtime stories? I feel like I have to say my mom. I don't remember. I don't remember stories.
Your dad's probably like, go to sleep. That's your bedtime story.
Yeah. I feel like if you ran long enough, going to bed would be easy.
I know. I was telling Emma. She was like, "My younger sisters won't go to sleep," and I was like, "I can tell you, my dad would do." I'd come out. I'd come out there. He'd let me sit on the couch for 5 minutes and tell me to go back to bed.
But Damonte was the reason I learned about like the darkening window shades because when Damonte was younger, if the sun hit his face or in his room, he's like, it's time to get up.
Yep.
And on Saturday, after you've been grinding all 40, 50 hours a week, you're not trying to be up at the crack of dawn. So eventually I had to figure out if I darken his room, he sleeps longer. And like an extra hour up at night sometime was a world of difference in just wearing himself out and then, not being up early on Saturdays. So
And then the last one is who had the best assignments, and I think everyone would agree that my mom had the worst assignments. I think there was only a few more worse ones you could have got. Like if you didn't get Alaska, I think you would have had the worst slate ever.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, clean slate of worst.
she did not want to go to Alaska at all.
No, because I had Japan down. I wanted to go to Japan.
And it's crazy that that was probably your best one.
Yeah, that was my one of yeah, it was probably my favorite.
Mm.
It was behind Virginia because
I feel like
Vegas and New Mexico were horrible.
I mean, Vegas wasn't too horrible. Like we did have fun there. We would go hiking. We went to shows. I think just because like where I worked, it made it hard.
Yeah.
well, actually, yeah, where your base was actually at in relation to Vegas probably was the worst. Making that drive.
Yeah, that was the worst part of it. That sucked.
Sounds like I got a pretty good report card here.
I know.
I was curious about the cooking one, but I think he was fair on that as far
Yeah,
as
that's fair.
put me on the grill now. It's over.
I think that's it.
Was that it for your questions?
Financial is a good one because I did thought about that because it was probably one of those things when you as a parent you like don't do the things that I did and you try to like teach your mistakes to your kids or but with anything, right, everybody learns their own way, kind of like we did coming up. So I was very adamant on him making some decisions early in his life to hopefully where when he gets, I think when I told him, I was like, when you get to my age, which was probably he's like, I want you to have the opportunity to work because you want to work, not because you have to work.
Right. Yeah. I think that's where Damonte's mindset is right now too.
Yeah. I'll never learn about cars, but
And teaching him about cars and like, this is how you, this is what you got to do to get there, right?
he always said don't get a German car, and then he gets a couple German cars, have to get rid of all of them.
Yeah, I think every single one has been German.
Great segue, right? About letting your kids learn on their own. Like I told him not to buy a car one time, and
Oh
I
my God, I
figured,
think I
you know
said
what?
the same thing about that particular car. I was like, I told him, don't buy it. And then
Right.
I see him send me a picture of you guys getting it. Was it that Nissan?
Yes, it was a Nissan.
And where did it left you on the road, right?
he was he was pissed that
Which time? Which time are you talking about? The one I had to drive like an hour and a half to pick you up,
yeah.
or is the day you're on the PCS and drive out and you like, hey, my car broke down. Oh gosh, here we go again.
God, I hated that car. I think everyone in your neighborhood hated that car.
Oh, yeah, I'm still don't know how I didn't get kicked out of the neighborhood because of that car.
Like looking back, I don't know.
Every morning, I didn't know if the windows were going to make it another day when he started that thing up, and it was right by the bedroom, on my bedroom. Not he's starting the car, he's not in the house, but man, it would rattle the windows every time.
And that was something he did to the car. He didn't purchase it that way.
No, it was perfectly fine. It was almost like I should have tried reverse psychology and tell him to do it so he wouldn't do it because he was doing everything opposite of what I did. But that was one of those things where, he had to learn for himself. So I just sat back, was like, well, this is the one he's going to have to learn on. And then
Learned.
he made some better decisions after that. And I think he's getting better. So,
Yeah. All right. So I will come up with some questions. So Damon, as a parent, what are, I'll say, your top three, I guess, lessons you learned from being a parent of Damonte?
wow.
I'm just too good of a kid. No lessons learned.
No, it's like the one thing I learned is, obviously first child, only child, actually, and so one thing you learn is I felt like I learned was I wasn't ready when it happened, right? And I feel like if you people wait till they're ready, they're probably never have kids, right?
Yeah, I thought that story was going to come up.
What? So that was one thing that I probably learned was just there is no you can buy all of whatever the books you used to buy, like Our First Baby or whatever.
What to expect when you're expecting.
That's it. What to expect when inspecting books, right? And I think it provides a foundation, but every child is different. And just learning that child, learning their limitations, and one of the biggest things for me was always wanting to protect them and sometimes they have to go out and just learn some things for themselves, but you knew that that's how they would learn it. Like I could tell them something till I'm blue in the face, right? Some things you have to experience, which is as a parent, we did the same thing, right? There was another thing that I learned this from a coworker, and it's that you want your kids to do better in life that you are doing, right? But we often tie that to material things versus just, just a good person making good decisions and things of that nature. And when you look at true wealth, is the people around you, the love that you give, the love that they give you. It's not necessarily always a monetary value, even though we talk a lot about finances. And I think the other thing was they always surprise you. It's always something. My biggest fear as a parent was always I give them a good foundation and they go out into the society and society kind of shapes them. They link up with the wrong people, like my dad was old school. I remember like my friends were getting in trouble and, most parents would take away the keys. My dad was like, I'm just going to take the tags off your car. You can drive it, but you're probably not going to get far when you're rolling around with no tags, right? But, at the time, it was just like, these are my friends, and you want to be rebellious in a way. But when you quickly realize that was the right things to do. So that's probably the few things that I've learned as far as being a parent.
Nice. Yeah.
What about you?
Me? Yeah, I would say the same as like what Damon said. I think the first one was I didn't feel I was ready. I was the one growing up to where I didn't want kids, like growing up when I was a teenager. I just didn't like kids. I don't know. I think maybe because my sister was way younger than me and seeing how she was parented, and I didn't like it. And I couldn't imagine myself being a parent to a whiny kid. But when we had Damonte, and I think God knew what he was doing because I will say Damonte was the easiest kid. So I was really worried about the kind of parent that I was going to be because I didn't know how the child was going to be. But that's a big part of parenting is instilling what, how you are. And I think between Damon and I, we're both calm people. And I feel Damonte was a product of that. So being a nervous first time young parent, I didn't feel that I was ready, but I also feel becoming a parent puts you in that role to where you're ready. You just don't think you are. You mold to that. And then I also think as a parent, you just feed off of the needs of your child. But yeah, that was one thing I learned is just learning how to be a parent based off of how your child is. I think the second lesson I learned is yeah, wanting them to have more than what you had. Yeah, and not monetary things because we grow up with our parents, even us, like constantly working so hard. And I feel sometimes we put working as you're successful because you work all the time and you work so hard. So I always try to instill in Damonte having a good work-life balance. Like we're not here on this earth just to work. Like you have to enjoy your life and you have to do other things besides going into work and being there because people are at work. I would say majority of the hours every single day, well most of us. So that was a life lesson is trying to instill some good healthy life balances for your child so that way they understand to be able to enjoy life. And then third lesson, I actually learned this when I was on my cruise recently. one of the ladies I was friends with, she had met the love doctor on the cruise. And he put together a session for whoever wanted to come to ask questions, whether it be about love, relationships. And one lady was talking about, I believe it was her son. And she had mentioned that she wouldn't like allow him to do something. I think like pay for stuff. And the love doctor said, you really like not allowing him to pay for something, you're taking away his masculinity. You have to, like, if he's offering to pay for something, like, you have to allow him that opportunity as a man to do that. Because if you don't allow him and you're taking away that opportunity, you're really devaluing him as a man. And I sat back and I was thinking, wow, I do that to Damonte. And I don't know if he feels that way when I don't want him to pay for something. He's probably like, thank God. Um, but I was thinking, wow, I do that to him and I don't even realize, because for as long as I've been single, I've been just so capable of doing things on my own. But I also don't want to be a financial burden on Damonte because he's starting out in his career and I want to make sure that his finances are good. So whenever we would do things, or if a birthday came up or Christmas came up, like I would never want him to buy anything for me, because it's like, no, save your money. Like, you don't have to buy me anything. Or if we're out getting food, no, I don't want you to, I'll pay for it. But I don't know, listening to the love doctor, I didn't realize it would actually be devaluing him as a man if he wanted to pay for it. But that was like another life lesson I learned.
I'd say it's like, screw this love doctor guy. He's messing up my.
Actually, this guy's a phony.
I'm like, yo, you got it. Like, he got his first job. I was like, what about that car insurance? Like, man.
I think I did message your dad. I don't know what was it, a couple years ago, and I said, "Hey, so what age did we decide that we were going to have Damonte start paying for like his own phone bill and in car insurance?"
Yeah.
Like, was it 25? I don't remember.
He got a job. It's now. Like,
But yeah, if those are lessons, I guess those are some things that I've learned.
yeah, those are good ones.
Yeah,
I think like trying to be the example too when you're parenting, right, is easy to say something, but then trying to be that example as well, right? And
right.
I always get it right, but you try to your best, right? Because you never know when they're watching.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. Even though sometimes you're telling them because you hate to be the do as I say, not what I do type of parent, right? But because sometimes there are some you probably learn and maybe some habits that that you aren't your best, right? But you don't want them to have those same habits, right? So,
right.
like, Monte was, how can I? But like, I've already put that. I was that example, right? Like, I can't deny him something that I found a lot of pleasure in, but at the same time, I told him the world was different. I wrote when we didn't have phones, and not everybody had a phone in their hand,
Right.
especially behind the wheel, right? So time's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's crazy because, like, growing up as a child, we would get told, do as I say, not as I do.
I'm an adult, you're still a child. You can't do this, right?
Yeah, like that's the advice that we would get. All right. So, actually, I think that's like a good segue into our next part of the episode is, if we could tell younger us, each of us share a piece of any advice. It could be anything ranging from career, finances, marriage, parenting advice. What would you tell yourself at 20 years old, 30 years old, and now in your 40s? So that's for Damon. And then I'll say you can give kids or young men your age or younger advice as well on what you've experienced going through life. So, Damon, if you want to go first.
I don't know what I would tell myself in my 20s and 30s is anything I probably need to tell myself today, honestly. Sometimes. Wow, that's a good question when you sit back and really try to put something into context, right? I probably would tell my 20-year-old self, from a financial standpoint, to save more money, right? And not try to live up and keep up with this certain lifestyle that you're running a circle with your friends, and it's cool to be out in the clubs all the time, and you'd make it work when it probably wasn't the wisest thing to maybe do at that time. because what you realize when you're in your 40s, when you look back, like the things that I could have made some smaller adjustments on in my 20s could dramatically have impacted my life, in my 40s, right? Like I probably could one, I had no idea I would be in the military as long as I was either, right? Like I was done at 4, that 4 years came up, I have a line number, Damonte's on the way, and it's like, well, I can't get out now because I don't know what I'm going to go out and do and now try to support a family, right? And so now I'm kind of making that mindset shift, like this is a career move. A lot of people say, when you get to a certain level, if you can stop taking pay raises when you get promoted, or at the beginning of the year, if you get a raise, to put that money aside and live by that, that would have a dramatically different outlook on my life now, right? Like I probably would just be retired and just, traveling and doing whatever I want. So that's probably the one thing I probably tell myself in the 20s, right? But in the military is like once you make that decision to go to 20 years, you're like, I'm going to get a paycheck for the rest of my life, right? So saving quickly becomes like, well, I'm going to get a nice check, after 20 years. Well, you think it's a nice check until you start getting the checks and you're just like, man, I could never have retired off of this. 30s, man, I probably would have said life is a roller coaster. Enjoy the ride because you never know when the ride ends, right? And when you're in your, obviously you feel like you're invincible sometimes still into your 30s, but that's probably the first time that I really got to like woke up on my 30th birthday and was like, what is that hurting me right now, right? Like you start to feel like you're older. I think I heard you guys talk about it a little bit on one of the other sessions you had about being at certain ages in your life and where you feel like you should be based on like where society wants to put you into a certain circle. So I feel like in my 30s was the first time I realized, okay, I'm an adult right now, only because like 30s is, when you're like a teenager, like 30s is old, right?
Yeah.
Like I hit a major milestone, and for women, it's like I'm in my these I need to see to get kids over with. Not start having kids if I don't have them. A lot of things start going through your mind in your 30s when when you look back. It's like, man, I had a long ways to go from my 30s to now, and that was almost 18 years. Like I've learned a lot. And the other part is I would have probably told myself like, don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. And whatever that may be, whether it's personally or professionally, you find the growth in that comfort zone. And like Damonte being a person who's always in the gym, you don't get the huge legs without some pain, right? So, you could easily get in the comfort zone and just cool with being on the couch and, having some scrawny legs and skipping leg day, right? But you got to go through and get out that comfort zone and push through that pain and to really see the growth. So that's probably what I would tell myself. And then the last thing would be if an idea has been placed in your mind and your heart, is placed there for a reason, right? It's up to you to figure out what it is, plant those seeds, and make it grow. And don't give up. Failure does not mean that you're never going to do it right. So those are probably some of the things that I would say to my younger me that I probably still tell myself sometime to this day. I joke all the time. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So
Oh, I like those. That is great advice.
All right, as for you.
Oh, I was going to have you go, Damonte. Well, I still thought about how I wanted.
we got trumped by mom.
Got out hosted.
Yeah.
I guess I would say this wasn't the biggest issue for me, but I didn't realize the impact until afterwards. Sort of like how you were saying, like saving money sooner would have like meant more then than it did now. But I think I didn't realize how important doing well in school was. Never that I struggled in school, but the amount of opportunities that open up if you do really well in school, like getting straight A's opens up a lot of opportunities if you get straight A's throughout high school, and especially if you place really well on like your ACT or your SAT, that can change a lot going into college for someone. Not that it was options that I felt like I missed out on, but I definitely think there's a huge importance on education for younger people. And then I would say my other advice, and we might have talked, I think we talked about this in another episode, is like not, if you have the option or means to, then like moving out of like your hometown. I feel like that would be like my other big advice for younger people or people my age.
That's a good one. Can I touch on the education real quick?
Yeah.
So we go back to being the example, right? So, in the military, your first form of education outside of technical training is the ability to get your CCAF, right, through the community college of the Air Force. So, and in a lot of at the time you needed that when it was time for certain ranks. You know, you lessened your opportunity to promote without that. So I was kind of, not necessarily forced to get that, but I wanted to move forward, so I had to get it, right. So I guess in a way I was. But when it came to actually getting my bachelor's degree, I didn't get serious about it until Damonte started college, and I would tell myself, like, I've been telling this kid, to go to college. Melissa had already had her degree; I hadn't had mine, and so I was like, I can't, be a proponent of college, and I don't have college myself, so I had to like buckle down and like knock out my bachelor's in what was like seemed like a year and a half, just so I make sure I had it before Damonte graduated, so I could stick by my word to continue him to push to as far as school go, to be that example as well. Like, his mom had already kind of set the example, and then which ultimately led me to go back to school, which was the craziest thing I ever thought I ever did, for a master's degree. So now I can, like, if he wants to pursue that, I can be that same, you know, endorser of it. Like, yeah, you should go do this. It opens up some doors. Uh, but so yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. I don't know if I were. Sometimes your motivation can come from your kids just as well as you try to motivate them to do things.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, so that actually goes into what I would tell my younger self is same way, same thing. I got motivated by Damonte to finally start investing this year. I think he was talking to me about it for like a good couple years. And then finally this year, I was like, okay, I'll start investing. So that's something that I would tell my younger self, like say back in my 20s. I really wish I would had paid attention more to my finances, paid attention more to investing and really what was going on in the world. Instead I was worried about the next cute outfit to go to the club in. That, like, who cares? Like, who
Hmm.
really cares about that crap? So yeah, so I really wish I was better in my finances in my 20s, so that way I could have set myself up more successfully in my 30s and 40s. Another piece of advice I will say on the marriage aspect of it, based off of my experience and the only marriage I was in, I would say don't tell everyone what's going on in your marriage. Like, it's nobody's business. I think involving parents in your marriage is a horrible idea. Like, just don't tell them anything. They don't need to know. I think when too many people get in your mind and tell you things, it can really influence the way you are. So I would just say, keep your marriage between you and your partner, and you guys work through things how you need to. Like, you don't need any outside influence. So I would say that for as far as marriage advice, even though it's been like a really long time. Let's see. I say now that I'm in my 40s, um, I would just say just enjoy your life. Like, I would say don't revolve your life around your job. Have hobbies, have activities, really enjoy doing something for you.
Hmm.
Because I feel like ever since I've entered into my 40s, I've really realized the value of time. And time goes by so fast. And we really need to take advantage of the time that we have here on earth, because it goes by so freaking fast. And just making good use of that, enjoying your life, spending it with the ones that you enjoy being around, those who make you feel good and you can laugh with, cry with, and have good conversations. So that is my third piece of advice, is definitely enjoy your life the best way you know how.
It's good.
Yeah. All right.
Is there something, Demonte, that you would tell us that we should have probably known in our 20s, or maybe even now as your parents, that we would have could have did different?
No, not that I could think of.
I mean, it ain't like we can put you out the house because you already got your own place.
No, I feel like everything was good.
See, y'all hear that? We did good. We did really good. Listen to all of our advice.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So we wanted to do this episode with Damon to kind of set the stage. We wanted to set the stage for you to get to know Damon a little bit and see how our dynamic is now. This is the first installment of Damon being our guest. There will be, I would say, at least 2 or 3 more episodes worthy of Damon's guest appearances. Yeah, so Damonte, do you have any parting words?
No, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Dad, for joining us.
For having me. So my last parting word is this is something that I used to have on my desk at work, right? And you know, you can use it in, professional life, your personal life, right? And I actually, for those I didn't share, I'm in the process of building a home. It's almost complete. So before the drywall went up, I actually wrote this quote onto one of the 2x4s. And it's the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. So if you think about that in any context, right, and it's something that you're dreaming about, right, like you're gonna have that dream, but it's up to you to put in to get to that dream.
Nice. And my parting words is, well, I went to this restaurant last night, and leaving the restaurant, they had words written on the stairs as you're leaving, and it says, "Wealth is of the heart and mind, not the pocket." And I really like that.
Did you take?
I did. But thank you all for joining us for episode 5. Thank you, Damon, for joining us on this episode. The next episode, Damon will have another appearance because we're going to get into more of our marriage, our divorce, how we managed everything, especially being both active duty military, how we figured it all out. And Damonte will be able to provide a lot of great information from his point of view of him going through that process as well, because it's very important to understand the process that the kids go through that as well. So thank you all, and we will see you on the next episode.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
And that's a wrap.
Cheers. Oh no, I should say, and that's a wrap as well, huh? Okay, we'll do that again.
Thanks for tuning in.
That's
Cheers. And that's a wrap.